Why? Why? How about because this is the most important thing to ever happen in the history of the world?
Just another movie night.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am Scott.
And I'm Joe.
And we're Just Another Movie Night. And this is before and after reviews where we go see a brand new movie in the theater and give our thoughts before and after. And today we're seeing Oppenheimer. Today is a special episode, by the way. This is a year we've been doing the show.
Yay!
Yeah, before and after, and our other show, Talking Trash.
Talking trash.
So yeah, it's a year, and what other way to celebrate with a bonus episode we normally don't do? We usually only pick one movie a week, but this is one of those weekends where everybody's talking about the two movie releases, which doesn't always happen. Usually it's always one that everybody's talking about. This week they got a weird event where people have called it Barbenheimer.
I think it's Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
whatever.
Yeah, and we unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I actually enjoyed the movie. We chose Barbie first, but we had something else going on front, and here we are on about. So yeah, this is Oppenheimer. I think this is going to be a 3-hour film. Christopher Nolan, all-star cast, an insane cast.
Gotta make sure we pee before we go in. Don't drink copious amounts of water while we're there.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not gonna want to get up during the movie. I never get up during the movie.
I hate it. Yeah, I never do.
But 3 hours is a long time, especially for us old fuckers.
I think also because you kind of know it's 3 hours, and you're like, your mind starts playing with it. Although a lot of movies we see that are 3 hours, if they're good, you don't even know.
You don't feel it, like Lord of the Rings.
I think Mission Impossible was a very long film. And
Yeah,
I didn't feel it.
2:45.
I didn't want it to end. Not even gonna lie. I felt like it should just keep going. But yeah, we saw Barbie already, and I enjoyed that. That's we have that episode out already, and I'm excited because if that was any indication of this weird phenomenon that is blown up on social media and the internet, of this two movie clashing thing, and such different types of movies, if that's any indication already, enjoying one of them. Then the other one, I have even more high hopes for, especially since it's a Christopher Nolan film.
Same. Well, not only do we really love Christopher Nolan, but the subject matter in this movie is way different than Barbie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's way different.
Polar
So
opposites.
I'm really excited to have one end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
and then the other end.
Yeah. That's what kind of has me excited. Also, when you see these all-star casts and you see a great director tackling a biopic, that's huge subject matter, I kind of automatically get really, hopeful for the best case scenario. I will admit, I think you agree with me on this, is that in the trailer, Matt Damon has a forced line of dialogue that does not seem genuine in his acting.
He seems a bit extra. I did
Yeah.
point it out during the trailer. I'm like, okay, well,
noticed
that
it
line
too.
delivery was a little bit almost cartoonish and
It
bad
does-
movie-esque.
Well, I think that line could be it because it is important, and this is a huge thing that happened in our history. And
You'll plug in the line here, I'm guessing.
I don't know, yeah, hopefully if I can. But also, it doesn't feel genuine coming from him. It feels, I think, the actor could definitely make it sound like it's real, like bring it to the screen. But for some reason, this line is just not delivered, and I want to see how it's actually done in film, because when you cut these lines into a trailer, it usually knocks it down. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking that while we're watching the movie, we won't even have that problem. But that's something we definitely both noticed.
For sure. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I was very intrigued watching the trailer. I've seen the trailer many, many times.
Many times.
And on social media, there are a lot of people talking about this film, and it is actually getting great reviews on social media.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't know if you feel the same, but I have this idea that regardless, because of the phenomenon that has started on the internet between the two movies, regardless, I had a thought that Barbie would get destroyed by critics because it's so overly hyped, and when something gets overly hyped, that also has a subject matter that some people just can't get on board with, it automatically gets destroyed, overly destroyed. And I'm already seeing that with Barbie. It's getting terrible reviews from especially the internet reviewers and the community. But I think that flip side happens now, is that Oppenheimer, because of that, will get huge reviews, regardless, even if it's like, lesser or something's wrong with it. People are going to give it overhype because the other one, the hype between these two and them being so polar opposite, and it's also Christopher Nolan, people love him and gush about his films regardless. And I'm wondering if that same thing is going to happen here. I'm very interested in seeing that, because especially since Barbie was the one that you knew was going to make the money.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And it sure is. And as of this recording, it is making more money than Oppenheimer, and that is angering people even more. And I think the reviews are going to get even higher.
Yeah.
So,
Well, unfortunately, I feel like there's like you said, the movies are so polar opposite that I feel kind of strange. Like, I know that they were released at the same time, but like you cannot even. There's no comparison here.
no,
There's just none.
no, it's
So,
just a joke about
yeah, like
two different things.
yeah, and Barbie's gonna
clashing.
pull in all the money, and
Yeah.
it's
And one would be seen as huge feminism movie, and the other one is the most male driven thing ever. Explosions versus Pink.
right.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where the clash came from, the meme started.
Yeah.
Because that is almost playing two sides of the field. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of ideas that men can't go see Barbie and men are only going to go see Oppenheimer. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And I
of
think
course.
that is a thing, but I found that so fascinating that I was glad we watched Barbie first.
Me too. And yeah, a lot of the men are on social media are just destroying Barbie.
Yeah, zeros.
Just
like,
destroying
come on.
it. It's just ridiculous.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, but whatever. I'm stoked to see this movie. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
very. The scope of it is going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, technically, on that level of Nolan's filmmaking,
Yeah.
he does a lot of practical effects, and he has an incredible eye. So right there, in filmmaking standpoint, it's going to be something visually to just overwhelm you. So that is a plus.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, all right, then let's
Let's go see
let's
it.
go see it.
3 hours later.
And we're back. We just saw Oppenheimer and Christopher Nolan's 3-hour Oppenheimer. Let's start with positives.
You want to go first? Or you want me?
Yeah, go ahead. But don't mix into the negatives. Give me some positives. Give me something, baby. Give me something.
Okay, so positives, brilliantly acted.
Yeah.
Brilliantly directed.
Yeah, I was gonna say with acting, we'd just say Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, Robert Downey Jr. was freaking phenomenal.
He's really good in this.
He was great in this. I know Cillian Murphy, he's front and center. He did a fantastic job. Also,
He's surrounded by so many people, though, right?
this cast is so. I mean, it's such an ensemble cast. There's not one person in this movie that you won't recognize from something else, if you don't know them by name like we do. But this cast was massive.
Yeah.
It was the
Did you hear that? I'm sorry. go
No, I
ahead,
was just
finish.
gonna say that the visuals on this too, there were some beautiful things that Nolan did here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say to your actors thing about how all the famous actors. Did you hear the Matt Damon thing where he said him and his wife were having problems or something? And I don't know what's going on there, but he said he told her that he was going to take a break from acting unless Christopher Nolan called.
Oh, no way.
And he called
No way.
for this movie, and he was like, "It's Christopher Nolan."
Yeah.
So I think that's what every actor in this film was like. I don't care if I'm just in one scene.
Right. Well, a lot of actors had just the one scene, and
Some of them are weird. Like, I
yeah,
was like,
some
why
of
did
them
they
are
do
very
this?
weird. But I'm still going on to positives. That's another thing I wanted to mention. I thought Matt Damon did good. I thought he did good, and
Yeah, we talked about that line in the opening, and I did think they cut it. That's why it maybe felt so weird, was because he's dropping a lot of F-bombs in the real version.
right, yes,
And
yes,
it did feel like, shut the fuck up. This is...
yeah. This is serious.
insanely
This is like
important.
yeah, serious
It was
stuff.
played way better in the film than it did in the trailer.
Yeah, I really appreciated the acting in this. I thought it was fantastic. Every single person did a great job in this.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, we'll get into that. But, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you said directing? Yeah, I mean, like, again, cinematography, the score in this film.
The score, yeah.
The score was intense, right?
Yeah. I mean, you felt, not just because the sound was loud in our theater enough that it would,
It was
when
perfect.
something happened, it would shake us.
Yeah, that's
But
what they wanted.
it kind of just went right through you. All
Yeah.
the music and everything. It was breathtaking.
Yeah, I was going to say the score and the sound mixing and editing. Like, people don't really understand that, but here, every sound was purpose. Like, just had this incredible, like you said, jarring shock in the audience. And he did it really well. The way they use silence and then use
Yes.
building you up the whole movie with
Yes.
shock, and then when it came time to the bomb, playing with you.
Yes, because then it was complete silence.
Yeah.
And then the jarringness of it, like it just completely shook you to your core when they did release the sound of
Yeah.
it. And it was just, oh my God, mind-boggling.
That build-up that he cleverly used throughout the film of jarring noises and explosions throughout the whole film, getting you to that moment and then playing with it
Yeah.
and then making it feel like it was more.
Yeah.
I think was
shook you up.
really nailed it.
Yeah, it
That-
shook
they
you up a
nailed it.
lot. That was incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What was the? Well, I said cinematography. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I mean, always.
casting was fantastic. I can go on, I guess, about the actors. I just thought everybody was fantastic in this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good segue into a couple negatives. Because
Well, we could just talk about how hunky Josh Hartnett got.
well,
Because that's one thing we
I'm not
mentioned
gonna
when we
lie.
left. I mean,
as a man, I said to you right after the theater, right after we left, the first thing I said to you, because usually we don't talk about the movies at all, but I had to say to you, man, Josh Hartnett's looking really good. Mm-hmm. Like, man, he's a damn good looking man in his older age.
yeah, he looks better now than he ever did when he was making those '90s movies and he had that bad haircut.
Even in Beyond the Sea,
Mm-hmm.
that Black Mirror episode that he just did, he didn't look like this to me.
No.
In this, he looked like some kind of action star from
did.
the early days. Like,
He looked like a GQ model. He looked really good. His hair was perfect.
he was very bulky too. Kind of,
Yeah.
we could talk about
and
how
he
good
can
looking
wear
he
he can
is.
wear clothes too. He can really wear clothes. But
Yeah.
anyway, so continue.
I was just gonna say a good segue into the a negative that I noticed was here. I just blanked out on the actress's name.
Florence Pugh,
No, the other one.
Emily Blunt.
Thank you. I just blanked. I guess Josh Hartnett. He tricked my mind a little bit there.
Did he do something to your feels?
Well, I was gonna say Emily Blunt, who I usually love,
Mm-hmm.
felt extremely over the top in this film.
Here's the thing about that. Yes, I do think she did a good job. She did an okay job. She was good. However, I do feel that her accent kept coming and going.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that's true too.
And I'm not talking about the British accent either. I'm talking about how she portrayed to have like she was portrayed as an American woman.
Yeah.
But she sometimes had some kind of like a thing going on with her accent.
And I don't think the way that I wonder how much footage was filmed for this movie and deleted. Because I didn't think they did her any justice as a character or as an actor, because every time they would cut back to her, it was an intense scene of her screaming about something.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, they kept cutting back and she had the same line of dialogue virtually every time stick up for yourself, that kind of a thing. And it didn't work for me. It did not click.
Almost because I feel though that I didn't feel that he and like the two of them were in love. I didn't get that vibe.
No, they didn't even establish it.
He,
It was not anything there.
No, there wasn't any establishment at all. It also, they kind of pinpointed the fact that he has a very crazy thing with women. Like the women that he dates or he goes after, and he's also like a womanizer. He doesn't. They're not really very balanced.
No, and honestly, it was one of those movies that showed women terribly in a weird way, where I feel like Florence Pugh and I keep blanking. I don't know why I keep blanking on Emily Blunt. Sorry, Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh both are portrayed as complete disasters of human beings.
Yes, they both are.
And that seems really one-sided to those characters and who they are.
Well, here's
and I
the
feel
thing,
bad
we
in
don't
history.
know. Like,
I feel bad for history. Like that's a shame.
Yeah.
Because this movie is like, and what's really funny is the way that they keep saying that he's a womanizer, because there's a third woman they just randomly say, oh, that was a thing too.
Yeah.
They scooch that right under the carpet, and I was like, that's kind of a cop out.
I mean, I'd like to do some reading on these women
Yeah.
and see what was really true and what was not, because the character of his wife in the movie, Emily Blunt's character, she seemed to not at all want to be like a mother or a wife or anything. Would like to know the real story of that, if that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, in the end, she's played all of a sudden jarringly out of nowhere in a way that it doesn't really work, because her character was never really established at all. She's just shown. At the end, they suddenly just make her into a badass.
Yeah.
And it does not work because the character was never even built up. And I feel like that's the thing for a lot of characters in this movie. There is, and I guess that is probably my biggest negative for this film, is that Nolan isn't primarily done action. And him trying to do drama, you can feel the action director on top of it, because this movie never stops. There is hardly a moment of breathing. There is hardly a moment to take in what some of the things are happening. The music is intense, over some dialogue sometimes. Right in the opening 15 minutes, this movie just does not let up. It's just explosions, sound effects, faces. It's going intensely out of control in an almost way that feels almost like an action film.
Yeah.
But by trying to also do something important and deal with a conversation about a man who is full of layers and attached to what America is, so much so it's like so integrated with what has happened in our history. This man, and that's fascinating. His connections to other people is fascinating. So many characters come and go through this film. None of them are given moments. They're just there quickly, and you really just start noticing them because of the actors, but not ever told who really they are, what do they play, what parts they play. A lot of people died. There's some deaths on the Manhattan Project, and I don't even think this movie it really got around that too, which is odd.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that with a 3-hour runtime.
Yeah, that's how you can see he sped.
I feel like, he had a lot to get through.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that it was very difficult for him, especially with a huge ensemble cast like this, and having to integrate all of these people, these real life human beings, into this.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that must have been so trying for him. But I would love to know some of these backstories, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I know he didn't have time,
Oh, that's what I'm saying. This must have been a huge script, and a crazy amount of editing must have happened during this film.
Yeah.
And you can tell, because while it's never letting up, I know he probably filmed moments of calm, moments to take in what has just happened. With that being said, some of the action director part of him really came in well. especially with, there's amazing shots of his panic. And
That was one of my favorite things.
yeah, the use of like vibrating things around him, the light, the flash of light, the things like that. Some of that stuff was really, really well done.
Yeah, when he had his when Oppenheimer had his like panic attacks and he couldn't control, like his emotions were just running wild, Nolan would put crazy things in the background, like shaking, violent shaking backgrounds,
And use that sound
and
too.
use
That amazing sound
that
editing.
sound that's just like it's piercing into your soul, and you can feel the emotion that the character is going through. And I thought that was really awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
I would say those scenes, some of those scenes also have another great acting performance in them. That's Jason Clarke has a couple moments where I was like, damn, Jason Clarke is kicking ass in this moment
Jason
too.
Clarke, he's pissed.
There's so many good performances that came and went throughout this film, which was shocking. I'm not sure who's playing Albert Einstein. I know the actor, but some of these actors looked unrecognizable. Like we kept seeing people who were like, "Is that what's his face?" Like, I mean,
couldn't believe it that it was the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You.
yeah.
I just couldn't believe David Krumholtz. Like, he just looks so different.
Yeah, he's gotten a little heavier.
Yeah,
in
and
his,
you'll notice him. Like, you'll notice he still has the same face, but like he's in 10 Things I Hate About You. He's the friend of Cameron who says, I have a dick on my face, don't I? It's like he says he looked like such a skinny guy, you know, it was only 14 years ago. You know, it wasn't that long ago that Can't Hardly Wait, 10 Things I Hate About You came out. And so he's like just completely transformed himself for this movie. It's crazy.
So
But,
you know, it's funny, and I also thought about this during the movie, was every time there's one of these movies about a famous person and it's done by a big director, I noticed that their cast overloads. And I kept thinking about Oliver Stone's JFK or Nixon or who's another director that also did that with just like billions of cameos for his movie. That's how this movie was. I could not stop going, holy shit, what is that person doing there? Well, that person's in the scene.
Yeah.
You know, I kept doing
Like
it.
Rami Malek. I'm like,
Yeah, that was
I'm
weird.
like,
And
what?
But then it came back of why, and I was like, he's got to have a moment.
yeah,
here.
because he's an Oscar winner.
Yes.
So to throw him in as a cameo, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you're not going to do that.
I laughed at all of a sudden in one scene. What was it? I said, Raymar
Yeah,
came
James
James Remar just shows
Mm-hmm.
up. I just kept being shocked, and every time they had a room full of famous people, like having conversations in this intense Nolan directing, I was completely absorbed in the film.
Yeah.
There was one moment where it's circling around a table with flowers in the middle, and they have to keep moving the flowers, and everybody's like moving them, and it's just so many people getting a line in here and there. And you're just like, holy shit, this room, this room is incredible of actors.
Yeah.
I there was so many things to be impressed about here, so many things to enjoy and like. And while I feel that the movie is definitely playing it loose, and I think that he does this really brilliant thing where he uses the loss of color. He goes into black and white for scenes that are not necessarily how it really happened. And I think it's because those are most of the scenes how we know. But I could be wrong with that. A lot of those scenes have to do with Robert Downey Jr.'s storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's really, really interesting. And I thought that was a really unique thing, especially since the movie's talking about, he keeps telling a story about the stars going out and sucking in color and light. You know, and then those black and white scenes come in and it feels almost like that, you know. And I thought that was a really, really smart and clever way to film certain scenes. Although it's hard to tell what in history he was playing loose with. You know, a lot of these things feel like, okay, there's no way that happened that way.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like, well, he had to take some kind of like,
Of course, when you make a biography,
yeah,
you have to
he had to
shove
take-
it all together.
yeah, he probably took some liberties like with certain things too, because I mean, it was a very long time ago, and those, you know, nobody really can validate those conversations
True,
and things
true.
like that, you know, because everyone's gone. But I feel like for him to make this 3 hours, I think that was like really probably difficult to do, you know, because he probably could have made an easy 5-hour movie.
Yeah.
But by the way, I want to tell you that actor you're looking for, Albert Einstein, is named Tom Conti. I think he's a British actor. And he was definitely made up in makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I know who he is.
Younger guy.
That's what I was saying. Like,
he was in Paddington 2. You know, he played the judge. He's been in Dark Knight Rises. He was one of the prisoners. He's like in stuff, but like not anything that's like that. You know, he's a lead actor in that that we've seen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I definitely thought I knew who he definitely was, but that's Nolan using his favorite people, and he does that heavily here. One cameo in particular jarred me. I did not expect whatsoever. That was really interesting, but that was another Nolan person. Yeah, and then I actually forgot halfway through that this was actually a Christopher Nolan film because I was like, oh yeah. Oh, now I saw, I see this person. Now I remember now it is a Christopher Nolan movie because we got those cameos that we're so used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to be impressed about here.
Definitely. It was
It's going to be one of those Oscar movies that's going to win
it's
all those technical awards.
probably gonna clean up.
Now, I guess we should talk about Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
While I feel like the movie was all on his face, and he does a lot of great acting with his face, because I feel like he's almost toned down in a way.
He was very, yes, like, I don't want to say monotone.
I guess that's the character, of course.
But I guess that's who Oppenheimer was. I mean,
I guess
I'm just
so.
going to go ahead and speculate on that. But
yeah,
he was very reserved in this. He didn't have any scenes where he just, like, completely blew his shit, you know? Like,
yes, I feel the
you know
same
what I
way.
mean? Like, I feel like everyone had a moment where they were just screaming or, you know, getting mad or something, like having some sort of an emotional scene. Especially Robert Downey Jr. He had all the scenes. He was great.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like every character in this movie had their moment to shine. And although he's he carries the movie, he is the lead character, I feel like he was a bit reserved here.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could have just been that's who the character or the human being Oppenheimer was. But I feel like the actor Cillian Murphy was a little bit reserved.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Another cameo actor that I just had to point out because I was like gonna lean over to you and keep saying, "Oh my God, that's the guy." Oh, it was Macon Blair. He was playing his lawyer.
Oh, the lawyer. He was yes.
He is in Blue Ruin, the Green Room, where you know with the Nazis. That's
Okay.
that. He's like a writer director. He did Blue Ruin. That's the movie. Oh, it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, they changed him major big time for this because he's a ginger.
heavier.
He's a ginger.
No,
isn't he?
no.
No, I thought he was. Who am I thinking of then?
I don't know. He's also in Murder Party. He's one of those actors that can't like. I love seeing him in
I
things.
must be thinking of somebody else, but yeah. There's one person in here, Scott Grimes. I did not recognize him.
Yeah, I saw him.
Didn't recognize him.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when you're talking about those like almost those actor games. It literally shocked me every time someone showed up. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know they were in this movie.
Yeah. Well, the guy who played Solo, right?
Yes.
He was the
He had
he was the
lot of
assistant
movie
to
in this.
Downey Jr., right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other one was Scott Grimes.
That's right. Yeah, he got.
Because I kept seeing him and I was like,
That's right.
Is that Scott Grimes? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Couldn't even
So
tell.
that actor's name is Alden and Aaron Reich.
I don't even
Aaron
blame you
Reich.
for-
Alden Aaron Reich, and he was great in this movie too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really, I would say in the funniest way. I never expected this to ever be, and I thought he was just gonna be a cameo. I honestly saw this as the Robert Downey Jr. show. Like every time they got to him, I was fascinated. Yeah.
That's the Garrison guy. That's the attorney. I'm showing Scott a picture of this actor.
Yeah,
He
Macon
is a
Blair.
ginger, Macon Blair.
I don't remember him being a ginger.
He's a ginger.
He might have brown hair.
Nope, that's red.
So, anyways, doesn't matter. I thought you would know what I was talking about when I said Blue Ruin.
Yes, I do recall that.
Like cult movie fans will know exactly what
Yes.
Green Room is.
The Green Room, yeah.
You know what Green Room is?
Yes.
That's the one with Patrick
Stewart.
Stewart is a Nazi.
He's a Nazi, yes. And,
He played the
that's
bartender.
Anton Yelchin in that.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I really saw this as the Robert Downey Jr. show because I just thought that he was ruling the scenes he was in, and I thought everything else was almost overdoing every other actor. You know,
Yeah.
like Florence Pugh shows up and she is doing her sexual character that she kind of does in Don't Worry, Darling, and she just you're not looking anywhere else. I mean, you can't help because they have so many sex scenes with her all of a sudden
Oh,
out
she's
of nowhere,
completely naked.
which is wild. Like, and I'm like, you can't pay attention to anything now.
No, I mean, I can't help it. I was like, well, they're trying to have a conversation while they're sitting there completely butt naked.
In one
And
scene is very artly done, and
was
I was
like-
like, holy shit,
wow, yeah. I was like, wow, pews.
pews.
Like, that's a lot of pews.
That sounds really good. Yeah, well, so
Oh, like, I can just make mention of one thing, and
Sure.
it's probably a spoiler, but it's a cameo.
I hinted at something, but is that the one you're going to go for?
I think
I said the big one that's a Nolan one.
Truman?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I already kind of hinted around
Yeah.
that somebody from Christopher Nolan's
Yeah.
movie showed up. That a shock.
I was like, holy shit, of course, Chameleon.
and
but yeah.
and he's actually has one of the better moments too. It was like a
Yes.
really good moment.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, there's a lot of great actors in this movie. This movie was one big ensemble. Like, oh my god, that person. Oh my god,
Yeah,
god.
and it doesn't even matter because the technical stuff is what makes this movie really stand out. The
Yeah.
plot, to me, the story and the script move so quick that it's so hard to process it and really get some of the things that are happening. And some of those moments definitely needed a breath. Just give me a breath of air, and then I'll sit back and kind of take in what I'm learning here.
Yeah.
But since it moves so quick, it's kind of hard to really absorb all that. I do think that on every other standpoint of movie making, it's pretty excellent on those senses. But so yeah, that being said, what are you giving this as a review, like a score?
I think this movie was really good. I'm gonna give it a 9. I
Okay.
thought it was really good.
And here I am going an 8.
Okay, well, I had a feeling you were gonna say that.
I'm almost at a 9, but I do feel that when it's the story that feels so run through while also trying to manage so many characters and so many plot lines. I mean, this really becomes. He actually shoots a court drama. Basically, the movie becomes a court drama, and when he films this, he films it in a way where it's an action movie. And while it was so intense that you couldn't look away, and it really was absorbing, for some reason, I think that a lot of the information we're being dumped through is so much and so heavy
Yeah.
that it's hard to process 100%.
It is. It's hard to process, yeah. But I mean, like I said, like I think that he just had such a big job to do. I think he did it the best way that he could. I thought he did a great job. I love the directing. I thought that he did a great job, and I thought the actors were great. So
Yeah, I agree. And on that sense, I do want to go higher. But I feel like it just gets back down because of how much is happening, how quickly it is.
yeah,
I
mean,
don't know.
if that's like that and the Emily Blunt thing. Those are like the two major things that you're like.
Let's face facts. The story itself is the thing that's the most important because
Yeah.
that's the thing we're watching,
Right.
we're learning about. And I feel like I have a hard time remembering half the characters' names. Like,
A lot of the time, they didn't say their names. I'm not gonna lie to
they
you.
say their names in a way where it's passing and it's also with music playing and it's hard to know. Some of the things that come back, you would have to be like really already like filled with information about this history already to know half of it. I kind of wanted to learn a little bit. While I did in Oppenheimer's life and the crazy stuff that he kind of went through, I feel like I still don't know who he is.
Right.
Like,
Now you have to definitely do some
yeah,
reading.
you kind of just are thrown into his midlife, like while he's about to become. At one point, he's just like, he's with a girl, he's married, and he's at the Manhattan Project. It's just like real quick, and it's also played out of order in a lot of scenes, and it's hard to know exactly when certain things occurred in certain moments, especially this Albert Einstein Oppenheimer moment at a pond that is very in the core of the movie, that it's actually bookended and it's in the, it's completely bookended by that, and that's important. But it's hard to remember when exactly that moment is occurring in the
Right.
film's timeline.
Yeah, I would like to think that they were trying to tell us by making some scenes black and white, because I thought that was really awesome
Yeah, I
too.
kind of talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but just real quick, I was just looking at something while we were talking, and about the names of people and how they didn't say any of the names. I could tell you that we went through this whole movie, and the actor who plays Solo Alden, he doesn't have a name in this. He's just referred to as Senate aide on
Yeah,
IMDb.
and he's completely a fake character, and that's you can tell right off the bat, because the
Yeah.
things he was saying to him, it felt a little out of place. It was just the audience to feed the audience what was
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
I definitely don't. We don't know who he was as a child, Oppenheimer. We don't know who his parents were.
Yeah.
They make a mention real quick about some stuff like that. We don't know why all of a sudden the ideas are flashing in his head, and he's like, I can't concentrate in school. It just happens, and I think that's the only thing. This is a movie about him and who he is in his core. I even feel like the his regrets just come out of nowhere
Yeah.
instantly in the movie, because they need to happen now.
Right. I just don't think that he had a lot of time to plan all of these things out. Like,
I
okay,
agree,
like
but I mean,
space
when-
everything in, you know?
Yeah.
Like trying to space in his personal life and, his teachings, and then, going on to the Manhattan Project and stuff. There's just, I mean, he had to pepper that in, And that's what's unfortunate. That's why, I mean, this movie is technically an 8, but I'm pushing it to a 9 simply because of just how well acted and well directed it was, and the cinematography and all that. I thought that was great, and I actually am very intrigued by the story of
Yeah,
this
it
movie.
makes me want to go look at more and read more.
Yeah.
And I
So-
feel like, I mean, I guess that is great that the movie does that. But I don't know. I don't think I can go higher with it. But yeah, I did enjoy it, and it was good. And I definitely, it'll be one of those movies that I'll think about tomorrow, and it'll probably grow on me. This is just my instant review, my
Yeah.
instant thoughts outside of the movie.
I can't imagine what the DVD release is going to have on it.
There's got to be so much footage not used.
I mean,
so
yeah.
much stuff you had to cut out. But all right, let's get out of here. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one.